There's legal guards working around the world to protect the animals all across the globe. After approaching our Asian destination, we'll need your guys' help. Scientists and zookeepers need good observation skills to ensure the animal's health. So point out what you see, make some observations of your own, and share them. Because we've now arrived 7,000 miles into beautiful Asia. And right over here, you'll see the main herd of bear singing deer, spotted axis deer, and some of our peafowl. Now, we actually have some baby calves born. You might see the baby hanging out with the mom over there. Bear singing deer are the largest deer species in this enclosure, about 400 pounds fully grown. Their antlers can be about 2 feet in length with 2 to 4 pines on each bar. We also have some of our peafowl, which are the national bird to India, like the bald eagle is to the United States. The males are called peacocks, while females are peahens. When these animals display those beautiful feathers of theirs, that means they're trying to attract a mate. And when they lose them, that means they've already found one, and they will regrow them when the next season occurs. And we have a lot more animals we will be talking about today, but in the meantime, here is our zookeeper, Michelle, who works in the Kahamana with them every day.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I'm part of the Wild Asia Keeper team. We call this area Kanha Meadow, where we care for about 40 Barasingha deer, 15 axis deer, 10 black buck, and a pair of muntjac. We start our day by checking on all the animals, making sure they are healthy, behaving normally, and safe. Sometimes, fawns and calves are born overnight. Newborns are given a neonatal exam, which includes weighing, vaccination, and tagging for identification purposes. While the animals are in the meadow, we prepare their nighttime holding areas so that they have a safe and clean place to spend the night.
Farmers in Indonesia live closely with wild animals, like elephants, which we will see shortly. WCS field staff worked with local leaders and farmers in Indonesia to come up with the Crop Protection Unit. This unit created many different ways for farming to continue in close proximity of wild animals. One strategy was to soak ropes in chili powder and place them around the crops. Elephants do not like chili and leave the farms alone, allowing the farmer and the animals to share the habitat peacefully.
Now we all know that animal that's extinct, that means they no longer exist. Like dinosaurs and dodo birds, these animals roaming around right now are going to be known as our Mongolian wild horses, also known as the Przewalski horse. In 1902, these horses were actually almost extinct once, with less than 300 of them in the world. WCS field scientists, well, the conservation organizations, initiated a very successful breeding program where we've been able to breed over 50 of these horses back into the world, and they've been reintroduced into areas of Pakistan, Mongolia, and parts of China. Even a recent reporting that some herds have been found as far west into areas of Ukraine. Now those horses do look a little bit like donkeys and domesticated horses, but they have very different features to them. They have shorter legs, stockier muscles, as well as an erect mane that's missing a forelock. That's a piece of hair that falls over the domestic horse's foreheads. And a little bit, they're probably going to come up on top of this hill over here to get their hay and vitamins. I'll be set aside for them from the zookeepers. When they're done eating, they'll go back down to the valley below where they are right now, or even travel upward to a larger hill, where they're going to roll around the grass, graze a little, or just take a small nap. Our horses usually roam this whole enclosure, but right now they're just hanging out down there. In the meantime, here's our field scientist, Jonathan Slatt, and he works in the Russian Northeast Corridor to monitor their population and to protect them in the field.
I'm Jonathan Slatt, and I'm the Russia and Northeast Asia Coordinator for the Wildlife Conservation Society. I believe that wildlife has a place on this earth, and my job is to find practical solutions that allow people and wildlife to thrive together. Przewalski's horse went extinct in the wild in the 1960s. On a recent trip to Kazakhstan, I thought about the ongoing and successful efforts in that country to bring these horses back to the Central Asian steppe. The world needs happy stories, to watch the impossible become possible, and to see hope restored. And that's what's happening today with Przewalski's horse.
In this enclosure, we'll be on the lookout for two animals that are related to two animals that are actually native to areas of southern Asia. Keep your eyes out, because off in a distance you will see our brown antler deer popping up on the hill. The brown antler deer get the name from the curved shape of the male deer antlers, and they're classified as vulnerable due to the fact they're losing their habitat from deforestation and over-farming. These guys have to resort to feeding on the crops of farmers to survive. Field scientists and the WCS are working hard with local governments in areas of India, and we're working hard to protect them as well as to find peaceful solutions so that they can thrive.
Yeah, they're all the way in the back.
Our next animal we're on lookout should be all the way over there to our 11 o'clock. Those are going to be known as the gaur, and they are the world's largest wild cattle. Standing up to about 6 feet tall at the shoulder, 10 feet in length, these animals can weigh up to 2,000 pounds fully grown, and that is the size of a small car. Now you'll see the main herd over there in a moment. They actually have some baby calves born recently, so keep your eyes out for them. They're going to be either scattered around the whole herd, or they're going to be in the center.
How do you even
Normally, though,
bring it to
instinctively,
a zoo?
the parents usually hang out in the outer ring of the circle, while the
Heavy
babies
equipment.
hang out in the middle for protection.
How
And with
do
their large
they
size
even
and
carry their own
their
weight?
very large horns, these animals can take on just about any kind of predatorial threat they come across. There have been multiple reportings that these animals will even fight tigers if they have to.
I didn't see them on
Now you might be hearing a noise coming from behind us instead of in front of us, and it's easy to forget the Bronx Zoo sits in the heart of an urban environment. If you hear what sounds like the city's traffic moving around right behind you, that would be the Bronx River Parkway, one of the busiest roadways in New York. And this wooden fence is actually used to reduce the city's noise pollution, so that our animals can enjoy their enclosures peacefully. Well, coming up over here, please keep your eyes out and hands and feet inside the vehicle. We're about to be on the look for one of our most apex predators of Asia, the tiger. This girl over here is going to be our Malayan tiger. The interesting fact about the tiger is that when you look at their stripes, every stripe is going to be uniquely different from tiger to tiger, like the fingerprints of humans. Helps researchers to study them in the wild to see who is out in the field or to see who is in our enclosure today. This is Soa. She's our female Malayan tiger. She is about, I believe, 5 years old. And when you look at her ears, you'll see those white spots. Now, in the wild, when tigers are lounging or taking a nap, those spots on their eyes actually can be used as defense and to deter other predators from hunting them because it looks like eyes, like they're looking back at them. Tricks the predator into stop hunting them, but they're usually going to be left alone. They can sprint up to 50 miles per hour when they're hunting, dig their 3-inch long fangs into their prey, and then eat up to 40 pounds of meat, which is the equivalent of 160 hamburgers. As we say goodbye to Soa, here's going to be our field scientist that works in the areas of Asia to protect tigers in the field.
WCS works with many species of tigers in the wild and at the zoo. Here is a note from one of our field scientists about his experience working with rangers to protect tigers in Indonesia.
Hi, my name is Anoa. I'm helping the rangers of the national park in doing their forest patrol. There was a time when we found some tigers' footprints in the jungle, but then we also found that some snares are installed inside the forest, which become threats to the animal. We dismantle the snares to make sure that the tiger are safe.
We have now entered the backside of the Kaha Meadow. Off in the distance, you might see some of our Barrasinga deers. You might see some peafowl roaming around. And if you look carefully, usually by this trail, there are going to be a few black buck antelopes. They like to hang out around each other, and they're usually going to be seen racing each other. The males are much darker compared to the females, which have a light tan compared to the males, which are dark brown. In a moment, though, we're going to be on the lookout for a very unusual looking animal. Calls this muddy and rocky area its home, has tusks that are from a snout that go all the way to the back of its head, and they're going to be known as the Barbaroussa. Females do not have tusks, while the males do. And the Barbaroussas are actually native to the Indonesian island of Sulawesi. The word Barbaroussa means big deer in the Malayan language, and Barbaroussas use those tusks of theirs to fight, as well as to assert their dominance in the wild or potentially attract a female. You'll see a female right over here in a moment. She'll be wagging her tail. Let's say goodbye to our Barbaroussas. You're going to be able to see coming up over here is going to be our two Asiatic elephants. First one right here will be happy. You'll see her actually throwing some dirt on her body just to cool herself down like a natural sunscreen. And it also feels good. And then off in the distance you will see Patty, who is just going to be eating some hay.
You'll see in
And
a
the
second.
first thing you might notice about them, though, is their size. Elephants weigh 10,000 pounds fully grown, and they can eat up to 200 pounds of hay a day. Now look at the bottom of her trunk. There's a thumb-like finger for which she'll use to pick up objects on the ground, like grass, or even branched from the trees to throw into her mouth. But the trunk is also used like a straw. 40,000 muscles reside in that straw. 40,000 muscles reside in that trunk, and she'll use it to suck up water, up to 2 gallons of water into her trunk, and then shoot it into her mouth. Daily, though, she will drink up to 60 gallons of water. Here's one of our field scientists that works to protect the Asiatic elephant in the field.
WCS works in the field with both African and Asian elephants. Here's a note from our field scientists who work with Asian elephants.
That's a baby.
My name is Donny Gunaryadi,
Baby.
and I'm the Elephant Conservation Coordinator for WCS Indonesia.
Wait, what
The
was
first
the
time I
bear
saw a Sumatran elephant, I thought,
The
this is a
bear
magnificent
joke?
creature. They will be safe because they are so big. But the truth is, they have declined 50% since the 1980s. Even though rats and insects cause more damage to crops than elephants. Because the elephant is so huge, psychologically, it seems more threatening. So when there is conflict, the farmers poison the elephants. In response, we created a crop protection unit to mitigate conflict and send the elephants back into the park. And it's been a huge success. Since we started in 2003, no elephants and no people have been killed.
Off in the distance, on top of that giant boulder, you'll see our 3,500-pound Indian rhinoceros, Callie. Now, when you look at her skin, you might notice it looks like armor. That's actually going to be sensitive layers of fat. And if she's covered up all water, well, it was raining a little bit, but these rhinos will actually hang out in the mud to cool their bodies down so that they don't get sunburnt or bitten up by bugs. Now, if you ever watched our show on Animal Planet, the zoo, you might know one of our rhinos, Penny. And zookeepers have to put sunscreen all over her face because her skin's a little bit more sensitive compared to the other rhinos. Unlike the black and white rhino of Africa, where they have 2 horns, the Indian rhinoceros only has 1. And the horn of the rhino is made of a substance called keratin. Keratin is the same material of our fingernails, hair, and teeth of baleen whales if you've ever went whale watching. Rhinos can charge up to 20 miles per hour in a show of force to intimidate their foes. Instinctively, when they are afraid, they will charge in the direction of that threat, even when they are scared. But I would say goodbye to Callie right now. She just enjoys her day. Here's our field scientist that works in the areas of Sumatra to protect the Indian rhinoceros in the field.
The rhinos you see here are Indian rhinos. We work with habitats all over the world that are homes to rhinos. Here is a note from our field office in Sumatra, and Wulan, who works with the Sumatran rhino. Sumatran rhinos are the smallest of the world's rhinos, and they are considered critically endangered.
My name is Wulan Pusparini, and I'm the Species Conservation Specialist for WCS Indonesia program. We carried out an island-wide survey of the last wild population of Sumatran rhinoceros in Indonesia. With so many unknowns on how to manage Sumatran rhinos in the wild or captivity, our study showed definitively that we must protect them at source. The cost of doing nothing could be the extinction of the species, and I can't imagine that.
Over here, we're going to be looking out for 4 different deer species and 1 antelope that come from all across the continent of Asia. So please keep your eyes out for them. The first one we should be able to see in a moment is going to be directly in front of us by those 2 fenced-in gardens. You might see a very small deer-looking species. Those are going to be the hog deer, and they're actually fully grown adults. Hog deer get their name from their short and heavy light build that resembles that of a hog. And they're located within areas of northern Pakistan as well as in parts of India. Instead of fleeing like most prey do when they're being hunted by a predator, hog deer will hide. Or instead of leaping over objects, they will duck under them and crawl under objects to avoid being hunted by predators. The largest deer species we'll see in a moment here is going to be the Zambar deer. They're actually the largest in southern Asia. They can stand to about 5 feet tall to shoulder and weigh as much as 650 pounds, fully grown. Their antlers can grow up to 3 feet in length with 3 pines on each bar. And if you follow this little stream all the way to the top of that hill, you'll see our full herd way in the distance, hanging out with some nilgai antelope as well, which are the largest antelope species in South Asia as well, but they weigh up to 500 pounds. We do have a full group of females. We don't have any males, however. For those, the male antlers grow up to 4 feet in length as well. The Chinese tufted deer, we're going to be on the lookout for them, a very, very elusive deer-like species. These guys love to hide from us. They have a very dark brown coat. They're about 40 pounds fully grown, and they love to hide by the dead leaves on top of boulders next to trees. So keep your eyes out for them, because they're going to be somewhere around here. They have two vampire-like fangs that they'll use to dig into their rivals to chase them away from their herd, so that they can have breeding rights. They communicate through a barking system, like dogs do, so if you hear what sounds like two screaming dogs, that's just them. They also communicate with their tails like the white-tailed deer in their own state of New York, where they'll use their tail for communication. If the tail is raised, it's to inform a herd of potential predators, or help a baby fawn follow a mother in flight.
I saw one or didn't.
I don't think I did.
I didn't see anything.
We're going to be leaving our deer behind now and crossing back over the Bronx River. Thousands of commuters cross this waterway every day to go to work as well as to come home. But underneath our elevated tracks and highways, it's a natural and beautiful ecosystem that's home to a variety of different animals like fish, turtles, ducks, and migratory birds. If you look down that tree with no leaves growing on it, you might see a bird of prey known as the osprey. Or if you look down below us, you might see some fish and turtles swimming around right now. Over here is going to be home to two animals that relate to the wild goat and to each other. They thrive in the Himalayan landscapes up Nepal, so keep your eyes out for the Himalayan tar and macaw. Right now, though, this will be our full macaw herd, and I'll tell you when we see the Himalayan tars. Now, these macaws are the national animal of Pakistan. They have horns that can grow up to about 4 feet in length in a corkscrew-like formation. And they have a very large and dark mane. The darker and larger it is, the higher up they are amongst their group. These animals actually thrive in the mountainous slopes of the Himalayas. And just like the white tar and the macaw, they have a rubbery substance between their hooves, like that of the sole of a boot, which enables them to grip and climb their mountainous terrains to reach new elevations to either avoid a potential predator, like snow leopards, or to find new vegetation sites.
I think we...
I'm getting close to the end.
In a moment, you will be on the lookout for something red, small, and very adorable. In between a V-shaped, the tree right here below me, you'll be on the lookout for what is going to be Linus, the red panda. And red pandas are located within areas of China and Nepal. These guys thrive at extremely high altitudes of up to 12,000 feet in the air. And people have always been fascinated by the color of their fur, and in Nepal they're known as Gihan Ho. Translate that into English, that means fire fox. The Chinese word for red panda is small bear cat. And people always assume that the red panda is related to the giant one. That's actually a common misconception. They are more related to skunks, weasels, and raccoons. And the only similar trait they have with the giant panda is that they both love sleeping and eating bamboo.
If they go up high in trees,
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to see them.
they're probably...
If you want to see our red panda again, though, we do have a second one located here at the Bronx Zoo. It's going to be a short walk from the monorail at the Himalayan Highlands exhibit. And over there you can also see one of Asia's big cats, the snow leopard. But as we are going down this hill now, our journey is coming to an end. And you have heard from some of our field scientists, zookeepers, and eco-guards that work in the field to protect wildlife all across the globe. WCS has 4 other facilities here in the New York City